Well, Benji Marshall, thank you for having us here at your beautiful home to talk about the next chapter of your illustrious career. Your beautiful wife Zoe actually walked past before and she introduced us to your son Fox as your work colleagues.
Yeah.
But that's not the case anymore. You've moved on from us at Fox Sports and you're into your new job at the Tigers. Why did you want to make the move straight away?
Well, look, first things first, I really enjoyed working at Fox, and when you step out of a team environment, I guess the scariest thing is what's the next phase look like in terms of, being around people all the time. And working at Fox Sports, I really got to be a part of a team, and a great team, and I really enjoyed that. But committing to coaching at the Tigers for me, and I said it a few times, like it's either all in or not in at all, So I just felt if I'm going to be the one driving standards and preaching about sacrifices and doing everything it takes to turn the club around, well, I need to be all in with that, and I know pre-season doesn't start till November, but I don't want to turn up November 1 and not be prepared to go. I don't want to be November 1 as my first day. I want to go sit down with Tim now at the moment and for us work out what pre-season looks like. So when we get there, we've already planned everything and we're going in there with a head start, not starting on that date. So, really lucky that I got the opportunity to work at Fox, but really thankful also that I was allowed to go and pursue that career because I was on contract there for 2 years, and I understood that. But, I just wanted to make sure that my priorities were straight, and I think it was the right thing to do for me.
There's a saying that commentating allows you to coach all 16 teams without the pressure.
Yeah.
You have chosen the opposite tact of that. You have walked away from the cushy TV job to go straight into the furnace, and there's no, I guess, tougher furnace than the West Tigers coaching job at this point in time. Why did you take on this challenge?
Well, I think the first thing is I'm assistant coach for 2 years. I think people have got this notion that I'm in there straight away as the head coach. I'm not. I'm pretty much shadowing Tim Sheens for 2 years to understand, look, I know what I'm walking into, and I'm okay with that, but also I know what my strengths are, and I know what I can bring to the side, and I know what I can bring to the club. And as an assistant coach, I'm going to just follow Tim around and get a real gauge about what it takes to be a successful NRL coach. And I know I haven't coached a game, but I'm okay with that. I know footy for me is more than just the X's and O's. And it's more than understanding how the game works. You're managing people, and I've seen some of the best at it. Like Wayne Bennett, to me, was one of the best I've ever seen at coaching the players away from footy with the view that if your life away from footy is settled and okay, then that helps and translates into you being happy and playing well on the field. And I experienced that throughout my career, So I've learned a lot of lessons as a player. And I know there was a lot of chat about not being experienced and all that sort of stuff, but I'm going to learn off one of the best.
Did you have your fears, your doubts? Because I've heard Tim Sheens speak, and he said he had reservations about it, and it wasn't until he actually spoke to you and Robbie Farah that convinced him that it was the right move going forward.
Well, it's just going to sound crazy, but no, I had no fears and no reservations. I guess for me, the dream job was to eventually be a coach, and the opportunity to pursue that now as an assistant for 2 years and take over as a head coach in the third year is something that I wanted to do, and it's something that I back myself to be able to do too, So for me, I'm stoked. I love the West Tigers. There's no doubt. I mean, I spent 10, 11 years at the club the first time, went away for a few years, came back for a couple of years, went away again, and now I'm back again, And if that doesn't say how much I love the club, like, I don't know what does, because there's been some tough times there, And even when I was away at other clubs playing and watching the Tigers, it still hurt seeing the club not have success. And it's such a big club with such a great fan base. And I know what can happen when you do get them behind you when you are having success, like 05, 10 and 11. With the fans was some of the best years ever. And when they get behind you, like, it turns into, like, mayhem. It was crazy. And I want to try and help take that back, and again, like, I'll repeat it, but following a guy like Tim Sheens for me is the perfect scenario, because he's going to teach me the ins and outs of what it takes to be a first-grade coach, and I can take those things and then add my ideas to it as well.
257 games for the West Tigers, so you're the perfect person to ask. What is the identity of that club?
Well, every club that I've been involved with, the identity comes from what the players want it to be, you know, and you got to go in there and find out what sort of group you got and what they want that to look like. In 05, for me, our identity was attack. You know, we'd go out and we knew, like, we'd throw the ball around and score points, but we'd also let in a few. You know, we were winning some games like 40-30. But the thing, what we found out at the back end of that year is we averaged 10 defensively throughout the semi-finals and into the finals campaign, you know. So defence does matter. I'm actually looking, that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to working with Tim, is finding out what we want our identity to be along with the players, because if there's anything I've learned about footy and being in teams is if the buy-ins from the players, that's more important than just the coach saying it to them, or, you know, or someone just telling the team, this is what you're going to be, this is what you need to be. Where if it's coming from the players and they're driving it and the players are saying to each other, this is, boys, like, you know, coming from your teammate, it's more powerful. When it's just a coach saying it, okay, it's one thing, you know, but if you can get all your leaders on board with driving that and what the identity is, and if you have the buy-in, that's so much more powerful.
So what do you think, why don't you think it's worked over the last 10 plus years? There's been different coaches, there's been different styles, different players, but nothing's recaptured the magic you seem to have at that time.
Well, sometimes it's just as simple as it just weren't good enough, you know? And for whatever reason, I wasn't there for those years, so I can only comment for the years that I was there. But it didn't work out for us when we were there, when I was there, because we were too inconsistent, you know, as a group. We just didn't win enough games and didn't play consistent enough footy. You know, and that's the positive thing about going in there fresh with new ideas and under a guy like Tim is we get the chance to make change and impact. And, you know, that's what excites me. Like, the thing about the club that doesn't get talked about is, you know, we only hear the negative things happening at the moment, which is where we're sitting on the table, which is obvious. But there's so many positive things happening there at the moment. I mean, some of the juniors coming through, and I got to feel this working with a few of them in the last couple of years doing the development stuff, is some of the kids there are amazing talents. And if you can't attract players, then you have to develop kids and turn them into players, first graders from a young age. And that's what I like about Tim taking this role, is he did this in 2003. We won the comp in 2005, you know, and out of all the coaches I've had, he's the best at teaching the basics and understanding the game of footy and giving you the belief in your ability and the belief that when you get on the field, you think you can beat anyone. And that's half the battle, is mindset and where you're at with each game, you know. So I'm excited about that. The new Centre of Excellence is pretty exciting to walk into. It's really impressive. That doesn't make you win games, though. But hopefully they can lift the morale of the boys. So a lot of good things happening. The NRLW, the Harvey Norman's team just won on, you know, recently on the weekend. You know, they're things that rub off on a club. We need more of that.
Let's talk about Tim Sheens. He hasn't coached in the NRL since 2012. He's 71 years old. What makes you think that he's ready to readapt to the rigours of what it takes to be an NRL coach today?
Well, he does. If you sit down and talk to him for 10 minutes, you'll understand where his passion lies. And, you know, one thing that I learned from Wayne is once you're a coach, you're always a coach. You know, and Tim's the same. Like, he is, if you sit down and talk to him about footy, he could talk your ears off, you know. So I'm surprised I still got ears from the last few days. But no, he just loves it, mate. That's his life, rugby league. And he's been in this position before. Yeah, so what? He hasn't coached in the NRL for however long. Does that matter? No. You know, and he's going to have a few young guys beside him who are keen and energetic and be able to help him and be there. You know, I know I've recently retired, but I feel like that's a bit of an advantage too. You know, like I guess I understand the dressing room side of things. You know, what players sort of need to hear or what it takes to get the best out of players. You know, I think the generation has changed from 20 years ago, and it was different 10 years ago, and it's different again today. I think I understand that part of it as well. So it's exciting, mate. And I got full confidence in Tim that he can do a great job.
You've said he's already sending you clips of all the youngsters. He's already across what's coming through.
Well, his mind hasn't slowed down. You know, he's... and one of the things I've learned very quickly is he's been through hours and hours of footage of all the kids to see where it's at and what they've got. And he sent that to me to take a look at and understand, going into. So I guess the other part of it is you've got to be able to see what players' strengths and weaknesses are and how you can make them better players. I'm a little bit different too, though. Like, I want to make them better people as well. I think if you build character and you got good characters, I think sometimes that's more important than just talent, and because playing in footy teams is about trust. And if you can trust the guy next to you to do his job, that rubs off amongst 17 guys or 30 guys, whatever it is. That's powerful stuff, So, talent's one thing, but good character and good people for me is another thing.
You said before that you have that playing experience. You're only just recently retired.
Yeah.
The other side of that is you are close with these guys, your mates. There's relationships that have been forged as teammates. Now it becomes a different dynamic when you move into a coaching role.
Yeah.
How do you manage that kind of transition?
Oh, well, I think if you ask most of the guys I played with, they would have said, if you ask them who they've been sprayed by the most, they would probably say me. But I'm just one of those guys, when I played, I was the same, and I'll be the same when I coach, is I'll be honest and upfront. And if there's something that needs to be said, I'll find a way to say it the right way, but you need to be honest and upfront with people. I'm a big believer in that. And when I played, when I didn't have honesty, I thought I was going better than what I was. So I think that's important. If you have that honesty and that trust amongst each other, and it's never personal. And I said that when I played with people. If I'm saying something to you, it's not because it's personal, because I want us to be better, and I expect the same back. And I had plenty of sprays in my time, but the other side of it now is there's a lot of kids who need a bit of an arm around them as well. So you got to pick the right way to do things.
We spoke before about Tim Sheens a fair bit, but Wayne Bennett was the other great coaching influence in your life, and you've mentioned him a few times, and he was always good with the shoulder around a player that needed it, protect them at the right times. Is that the biggest thing you learnt from Wayne, or is there something else you've seen behind the scenes?
Well, there's a few things I've learned from Wayne, and there's a few reasons why he's one of the best coaches ever to coach the game. I think what I loved about Wayne was he had an ability to be just one of the boys. We'd sit down the back of the bus, play cards with the boys whenever you're on the bus. Then he had the ability to, when he spoke, people just listen. And he was well respected amongst the players and the boys, and you wanted to play for him. Yeah, and that's a quality I think that as a coach you want to have, is you want your players playing for you every week. But yeah, my favourite Wayne thing was, it's not all about the footy. Is he'd take time to get to know about you and your family. If he could visibly see or sense that something was wrong with you, he'd come up to you and try and help you solve that away from footy. And he was genuinely your friend, and you could feel that. So yeah, coaching's one part of it, but there's a whole other side that I learned from Wayne that I really enjoyed.
You've been under 4 premiership coaches now, by my account. Ivan Cleary, Michael Maguire, Wayne and Tim Sheens. Yep. Is there a common factor they all share as great coaches that you've noticed? Yeah,
work ethic. I think it's like playing. The more you put in, the more you get out. And if you're dedicated and passionate and you commit to it, that's what happens, Yeah, they all coach differently, but they were all very, very good at working hard. And they, spent the time doing it.
What happens now over the next few months heading into the pre-season? What's your main priority now with the Tigers?
My priority is sit down with Tim and find out all the things that he needs me to do as an assistant coach, which is my job. And if I can assist him in any way in the things he needs to do, I'll do. But, preparation is the big thing for me. And I don't want to, and I know I said it before, but I want to get in there knowing that I've put in everything I can beforehand to walk in there prepared for training to start, with a plan of how we want to play, with, everything ticked and crossed or whatever. But yeah, mate, I'm just a shadow of Tim at the moment, and whatever he wants me to do, I'm prepared to do.
Could that role be going out there, looking at trying to potentially lure players, recruitment? You're a big star. You got a big contact.
Oh, look, mate. Look, it's funny how there's an assumption out there that I'm just the guy in charge now, and I'm out there, I heard a thing saying that I'm going to sign Mitchell Moses. I haven't even spoken to Mitch, and that's not my job. That's Tim's job to make recruitment decisions. My job is to listen to what he says. If he tells me to go out and talk to someone, then I will. But if he doesn't, that's not my job. I'm not the head coach for 2 more years, So I know what my place is and I know what I need to do. But recruitment for me that's not really what I need to be doing. Unless I get asked to go and talk to someone, that's different. But that's Tim's decision. He's head coach for the next 2 years.
What about managing the players you have now? Because the big talking point with the West Tigers is obviously the halves. There's Luke Brooks, there's Adam Dewey, and there's Jackson Hastings.
Yeah.
Do you have thoughts on how it all works? Have you had those conversations yet?
Yeah, I got thoughts on it, but one of the things I'm not going to do is speak publicly about the things that I don't need to speak publicly about, What I think is right is between myself, Tim, and the coaching staff, and what he thinks is the same thing, So, I mean, a lot of things have come out of our club recently. A lot of things are talked about. A lot of things have been leaked, So whatever happens, I just want all the people, whoever's in our roster next year, to believe in themselves and have an opportunity under our system to try and find that belief and find their best footy, because I believe we can help all of those players you talked about, So regardless of what happens, that's up to Tim.
What about Luke Brooks? He was a teammate of yours. You've seen so much of his career. You've seen so much of the talk about him. How does it sit with you, knowing him personally? And what do you think is the key to getting the best out of Brooksy?
Well, I played with Luke when he was Dalian Halfback of the Year under Ivan. And he's still the same player. You don't lose that form overnight. I think he's unfairly targeted around performances, which comes with the territory a little bit when you're the halfback. But there's been times this year when he hasn't been the halfback. He's been the 5'8", but he still cops the same criticism, So I think it's just a thing now where it's almost borderline bullying, where it's just about Luke, not about the rest of the team. It's like the only person who plays every week is Luke Brooks, which is unfair, a tad. But Brooksy would be the first to admit if his performance haven't been good enough or not. But when I look at Luke at the moment and I watch him play, I feel like I'm seeing a guy who's lacking confidence, a guy who looks like he's under the pump from everywhere and everyone. And I know there's another player in there who's got a lot to offer, footy-wise. And if it was up to me, I mean, I think he's a number 7. And I think he can control a footy team. And I think he needs to do the kicking and being involved as much as possible, and I want him to believe that.
What about guys that are coming to the club? There's been a bit of talk around Isaiah Papali'i. He's a great player and it was a great buy at the time. When you hear reports, true or not, that there's talk of maybe he's second-guessing, what do you think about that?
We can understand why. It's a lot of change at the club, and with all the talk about the club, you can understand why he might have reservations. I don't know. My perception is maybe Parramatta have just done a 360 on the offer they put to him at the start and realised how good he is now and then match what the Tigers offered. That's just my personal thoughts. But, I mean, he signed a contract with the Tigers. That's the other part. But as we know in footy, sometimes those things are overlooked. All I can say is we would love to have him at the club. And the way, or the ice that I watched today is a guy who could be a really great leader of a club and a way for the organisation to go forward, a person who drives culture, change, and bring in professionalism, who knows what success looks like. We would love to have him, but those decisions ultimately are up to Ice and the club and the Tigers. I don't have a say on what happens there. But I'd love to coach him. He's a great player.
What about Appy? He is coming, and we've seen in the Origin series the kind of control and influence he can have over a game. We've seen it at Penrith over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
He must be a guy you're excited to build the Tigers around and work with.
Yeah, so, when I think of Appy, I just think he is just the ultimate competitor on the field. He knows what success looks like. He's tasted that. He's been a part of a system that knows what it takes to win. And I think for the Tigers, we haven't had a lot of people who knows what it takes to win or have been in winning environments, And I think Appy can come and help drive that change. He'll be an integral part of us turning it around. Great leader, great person, and a guy who's committed at the moment. You know, come out openly and said he's committed to helping or growing the West Tigers and changing that. And I think he's one of the biggest keys for us.
It's funny because when he started at Penrith, they were probably in a similar position that you guys are in now, isn't it? And people forget that Penrith were struggling.
Well, yeah,
and
I mean,
suddenly it turned around. And obviously there's a lot of reasons for that, but it can be done.
Well, that's what I mean. It'd be interesting to talk to him about that and what it looks like. But the other thing I reckon we've sort of lacked over the past few years, or actually for ages, since Robbie was probably there, is the ability to play from 9. You know, I think attack-wise, when you have great attacking systems, it's to be able to hold up a marker or just subtle things that stop the defensive line from being able to slide and help their mate on the outside. And I've seen Uppy be able to do all these things at Penrith that excite me about the way we want to play, you know, from 9 and have a threat from there that genuinely gets out and plays and drops angles off and goes in the line and ball plays a bit, not just a guy who passes off the deck. You know, I think that type of hook is sort of going out of the game, but you need a genuine threat from 9 and a good spine to have a crack in this competition, and I think he's a big part of that.
You mentioned Robbie Farah. Must be exciting to kind of get the old boys back together. Yeah,
I spoke to him today. The excitement in his voice was made me excited, you know, and he's one of my best mates, and he is genuinely the most competitive player that I ever played with. He hated losing to the point where he wouldn't talk to you for the week, if we lost. But he was passionate about the club. And I think he'll bring a lot of passion and a lot of knowledge and experience to be able to help out guys like Uppy and our hookers and forwards around what they're going to do in attack. I love that Robbie's going to be a part of it. And I'm genuinely excited that, and we've always been like this way where we don't have to say a lot to each other about what we're thinking. It's weird. We just, like even on the phone today, talking about attack, he'd go and say something and I was already thinking what he's saying, you know, so that's a good start. But we've got to translate that across to the players as well, you know. So
when I think about the West Tigers, I think about a Sunday at Leichhardt. It's absolutely teeming, and fans would come with a sense of anticipation, not worried about what might happen, but actually excited about what the Tigers would produce.
Yeah,
that's gone away in the last 10 years. But why do Tigers fans have, I guess, some hope, and why should they believe that there's better times in the future, do you think?
Oh, well, I think Tim's been in this position before with the club and done it before. But I think also, you know, don't want to talk it up too much, but they know that myself and Robbie are passionate and going to give everything and not leave a stone unturned when it comes to learning how to coach the side or how to turn the club around. You know, we're going to bring that passion and we genuinely are passionate about it. I mean, we both love the club and we both want to help. But just because you played 300 games doesn't mean you're a good coach, you know. So we also understand that we've got a lot of work to do to learn how it goes.
Well, Benji, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to seeing what you can achieve with the Tigers. You've been a wonderful servant for many years, and we look forward to what's next.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, brother.
Legend. Cheers, bro.
This has been a Fox Sports production.